right, everybody, we're going to get started. We're going to change things up just a little bit. So welcome to First Friday on a Thursday. The only thing wrong with doing this is we all have to go to work tomorrow. But we're going to start out with one of our special treats that we always have the opportunity to experience this time of year. And this morning we have the awesome presentation from those who are participating in the Niwala musical. And without further ado, I would like to introduce, do you want me to go ahead and, okay, I'm going to introduce the producer. Is that correct? Is that your title, Janet? Co-producer, Janet Demo, and get ready to be wowed by some musical entertainment.
I thank you for having us today. We're very excited and working very hard to get the production ready for you. We will be performing October 20th, 21st, and 22nd. And we hope you'll all buy a ticket this Saturday at headquarters. And this is our fabulous group from Mary Poppins. We have Bert, Mrs. Corey, Mary Poppins, Heida's understudy Lily for Jane, and Corbin, who is Michael. And our sorry, Mr. Banks. George Banks, Dean Hayes. And Glenda Winkleman is going to be our fabulous pianist today. We're going to do Super Cali first, and then Dean will do A Man Has Dreams.
Melissa, do you need 2 lights? Do you want to turn on that one? We have another one.
It's frankly quite absurd to live through lengthy lexicons to find the perfect word. A little spontaneity keeps conversation keen. You need to find a way to say precisely what you mean. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, even though the sound of it is something quite atrocious. If you say it loud enough, you'll always sound precocious. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Diddle 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 lie. Diddle diddle diddle.
It can mean exactly what you want it to.
Diddle diddle lie. Diddle 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 lie.
When Stone Age men were chatting, simply grunting would suffice.
Now, if they heard this word, they might have used it once or twice.
I'm sure Egyptian pharaohs breakfast and every single pyramid was supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Say it and wild animals will not seem so ferocious.
Add some further flourishes, it's so rococo-cautious. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Diddle 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 lie. Diddle 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 lie.
Diddle lie. Diddle diddle diddle.
Diddle lie.
The Druids could have carved it into mighty monoliths.
The ancient Greeks are
I'm sure the Roman Empire only entered the abyss because those Latin scholars never had a word like this.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
If you say it softly, the effect can be hypnosis.
Check your breath before you speak in case it's halitosis. What? Califragilisticexpialidocious. Diddle 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 lie. Diddle lie.
You know, you can say it backwards, which is sui codilipse, tiligarvel creepers.
She may be tricky, but she's bloody good.
So when the cat has got your tongue, there's no need for disguise.
out those 18 consonants, add 16 vowels as well, and put them in order, which is very odd to spell.
S-U-P-E-R C-A-L-I-F R-A-G-I-L I-S-T-I-C-X-P-I-A-L-I-D O
George Banks. A man has dreams of walking with giants to carve his niche in the edifice of time before the mortar of his zeal has a chance to congeal. The cup is dashed from his lips, the flame is snuffed a morning. He's brought to wreck and ruin in his prime. You know what I think? It's Mary Poppins. Ever since she came into this house, things have begun to happen to me. My life was calm, well-ordered, exemplary. Then came this person with chaos in her wake. And now my life's ambitions go with one fell blow. It's quite a bitter pill to take. It's that Poppins woman. She's responsible for all of this.
Well, that's the way to start off a program. So thank you very much. Thank you, Janet. Thank you, Glenda. Thanks to all the performers. We're going to hear more about Niwala here in just a little bit. So, but we're going to kick off First Friday like we always do, but not on a Friday, but on a Thursday. So with that, I'd like for you to welcome our business sponsor this morning. Coffeyville Regional Medical Center is our business sponsor for this month. And with us this morning is the Director of Communications and Government Relations. So would you please welcome Melissa Summer.
Man, how do you follow that? I think they all deserve another round of applause, though. That was absolutely wonderful. I only have a few minutes, so a lot to squeeze in a few minutes. But first of all, thank you for allowing us to come here and share a little bit about some things that have been happening in our hospital that we would love for you to know about. So We have some new physicians that have started at our hospital this year, and we want to introduce you to them. If you've not already met them, they've been out and about in the community. This is Dr. Michelle McGurk. She is our brand new general surgeon. She started in August with us. She's board certified in general surgery and works out of our CRMC Medical Group specialty clinic at the hospital. Dr. Bridget Gibson, she's here with us this morning. She is our new family medicine physician, board certified in family medicine. She's now accepting new patients, both adults and pediatrics, out of our clinic in Coffeyville. Heather Pollitt is APRN, family medicine. She's going to be working both out of our Coffeyville office and our Independence clinic, if you are interested in her. We also have Dr. Alex Orrick here. She is our newest internal medicine hospitalist. So if you are ever in our hospital, and which many doctors don't follow their patients in the hospital, they refer to the hospitalist, you will see Dr. Alex Orrick along with Dr. Hogsett and Dr. Wickstand. David Guchenritter, that's a name to say, isn't it? He's our newest interventional radiologist at the hospital. We have partnered with Kansas Imaging Consultants, and Dr. Guchenritter actually has ties here near Coffeyville, native of Neodesha. So he is with us performing interventional radiology. And if you haven't heard, CRMC entered into a partnership with the Midwest Cancer Alliance, which is really, really awesome for our region because we now have access to clinical trials that cancer patients have often had to go outside of the area to be able to participate in. So this is a wonderful opportunity for our cancer patients to be able to participate in these clinical trials when it's available to them. We also, through the Midwest Cancer Alliance, are able to offer our patients second opinions so they could talk with physicians at the University of Kansas through the wonderful world of the internet and be able to have second opinions on their diagnosis. We're having an open house for our oncology services on November 1st from 5:30 to 7. Everyone here is invited to come. If you haven't been to our hospital in a while, if you've lived here a long time and you may have come 10, even 5 years ago, if you haven't been to our hospital lately, you need to take the time and come and see us. It's a wonderful facility. The open house will showcase our oncology services. We'll take you on tours, and you can meet the physicians. This is the cover of our next issue of Health Partners magazine. You have some on your table. Hopefully you all get them in your home. If you don't, please take one on the inside cover. You'll see how to have the magazine sent to your home on a quarterly basis. This issue will be our oncology issue, and we'll feature information on our services, cancer survivors, breast cancer survivors, since this is Breast Cancer Month as well. I Am Living Hope. We share stories every October of breast cancer survivors in our magazine, through social media, on our website, advertising we do in the paper. These stories are extremely encouraging for people that are diagnosed with breast cancer. Please go on our website to read their full stories. They'll be in our magazine, but their full stories are on our website, and they really do share stories of hope, courage, and love, and it's very emotional to read those stories. Women in Wellness is a brand new women's health initiative that we started at CRMC. We started out in May with a kickoff. It's a free membership program for women 17 and up, and what we do is provide education, support, and care navigation for women. Let's face it, ladies, we have an unhealthy county, and the best way to do that is to reach the women, because not only can we take better care of ourselves, but we can in turn help take better care of our families. So if you are interested in joining on, you can do that on our website as well. Part of Women in Wellness is providing education. We are having a women's health retreat next Saturday at ICC West. There is sign-up forms over here on the table that if you are interested, please come. And we start out with a free health fair in the morning, and then we break out into sessions based on your age, because my health is different than your health is different than a 17-year-old's health. So please take a look at the agenda. So it's broken down by age group, so ladies will get the education they need. Live now, live later. This is a funny looking little thing, isn't it? This is a Live Self Breast Exam Aid. It was designed by Olivia Newton-John, who is a breast cancer survivor, and she's also had a recent bout with cancer again. These will be given to the ladies that join between the ages of 17 and 39 because they're not eligible for a mammogram yet. And it's a touch enhancer. It helps them perform a better self-breast exam. And we're going to teach them how to do that. So if you have young ladies in your life, please make sure they get signed up so they can receive one of these as well. And this is just a fine-looking group, isn't it? We were showcased as Business of the Month. And I just wanted to share that because our hospital's been a part of this community in this region for a long time, and I think one of the finest things about it is the people that work there. You're going to see us. We live here. We work here. We're vested here. You're going to see us on the ball fields and in the grocery store. So we are part of this region and are proud to take care of people that come to our hospital. So we're your partner in health, and that's all I have this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, ladies, get signed up for that event. That is a great program that you guys are all offering. We appreciate that. I'm a member of your group and women's and women wellness, and I'm going to get, when I go to Saturday, I will now qualify for my bracelet because I've done enough, preventative health measures that I'm going to get one of their bracelets. And during the course of that, I found out I have high cholesterol. Darn it. So anyway, got to get that in check. All right. So as we always do, we talk about things that are happening in the community. So if you will turn over I always say that because that's habit. Turn over your program. If you turn your program over, you're not going to find anything. But underneath your program, you're going to find a 2-page flyer because there's so many things going on in the community. We had to do a separate little insert there for you. So you have October and November right in front of you. So I'm going to hit the highlights. You can all read that calendar at your leisure, but I want to tell you a couple things that you may or may not know about. So you know how we've been collecting all those bottle caps? Well, Michael Yasusi and his wife are leaving for Indiana this weekend to take hundreds and hundreds of pounds of caps to Indiana to the recycling center where they're going to manufacture those into 3 benches for our new dog park. So congratulations, everybody, for collecting your bottle caps and being good recyclers. For that, we are, like I said, going to have 3 new benches out in the dog park. So that's really cool. Jim Hayward is going to be doing an exhibit, a photography exhibit, the entire month of October, so be sure and check that out. The reception starts this evening, and it starts in conjunction with Main Street's holiday treats and sneak a peek, so make sure you get downtown. I was thinking about the event today, and I purposefully am dressed to support our community, so I have all my... You'll have to look at them later, but I have on my favorite shoes from Calcor and my leggings from Calcor. I have my dress and my necklace is from Libby's. I've got earrings on from Cantrell's, and I'm headed there this evening for their 10th anniversary and to crack the safe for $10,000. You guys don't need to go. I'll just go. And I just got some Niwala swag of my own. Because I had to jump the gun. Niwala doesn't open until Saturday, so I was looking for some swag and picked this up at Little House Lane. So not only do you get great things at Niwala headquarters, which I fully intend to shop there, but you can go to Little House Lane, pick some cool stuff up. I was at Seroptimist, and Lisa, who is the new incoming Seroptimist president, and I was the outgoing, gave me a gift, and it is from Magnolia, and it's spiced cranberry. You have to come up here and smell this, and mulled cider. They're amazing fragrances. So those will all, things are going to be on sale at all of our stores in downtown this evening. And then I also recently got a gift from Sayers, and I got it in September, but I couldn't wear it because it had bats on it. And so this is a Halloween scarf from Sayers that you will see me sporting during the month of October. So I say all that to prime you and get you ready to go downtown, check out all of the stores that we have in our community and in the outlying areas, and shop till you drop and enjoy some fun and that is this evening starting at 5 o'clock. April, yeah, I was getting there. So, yes, that's the hottest news in town is today at noon, Apricot Lane will be opening up, and this evening at 5:30, the Chamber is privileged to do their ribbon cutting for them. So, I don't have anything from Apricot Lane because I haven't shopped there yet. Oh, you do? Okay, Dr. Orick. What do you got? Some cute booties there? Okay. You heard it here. Get down there and shop. So, lots of fun stuff. So, we're so fortunate to have all the shopping opportunities that we do in Independence. So, also this weekend is the community cleanup. I am needing some volunteers to help for that. And so if you're interested in helping volunteer for a few hours at the community cleanup, see me after First Thursday today, and I will tell you all about it. But if you are needing to get rid of some recyclables and regular junk at your house, appliances, mattresses, all kinds of building materials, anything you want to get rid of it, load it up and take it down to the sanitation yard. Also, this weekend is a football game. I just read that the Pirates are now nationally ranked number 7, going from 12 to 7. So absolutely, that's pretty exciting. So be sure and check out the football game this weekend. On a lower note, the Diversity Task Force will be holding a vigil at Logan Fountain in Riverside Park at 6 o'clock on Monday evening to pay tribute and recognize the sad occurrences in Las Vegas. So be sure and come together and be present at the Logan Fountain at 6 o'clock on Monday evening. Candidates Forum for City Commission. We have 2 spots available on our City Commission, and we have 6 people that are running for those positions. So I encourage you to get out at the William Inch Theater next Tuesday at 7 o'clock. The Chamber and the College will host a forum and be well educated about the 2 individuals that you will put into office this coming November. Zulaween is happening on the 14th. Trunk or Treat is something new in Independence. We do it upright when it comes to Halloween. So I encourage you, if you are interested in supporting Trunk or Treat, to fill out a form and be a part of something great in downtown Independence. If you want to come together with some other family members or friends, put together a decorated trunk or just throw the trunk up and pass out candy, we encourage you to do that. It's going to be a fun night in downtown Independence on the 31st. And then wrapping up that, I also wanted to point out that we are having our Veterans Day event. And so I believe Tabitha will be doing maybe a shout out at the end about, where'd that banner go? Oh, okay. Okay. About some veterans banners that we're able to purchase and that will be hanging in downtown Independence honoring veterans. And watch your Facebook and flashes for all of the events on November the 11th. It will kick off with a fun run, a color run, and it will end with us winning the game against Coffeyville. No offense, but when it comes to football, we're going to win. On Saturday night. That's right. And but anyway, we will be doing military appreciation that night, and so all military will be from countywide, from Coffeyville and Independence, will all be allowed to come in free of charge, and we'll be recognizing them. So we'll do some shout outs at the end. It's time to finish up our first presenter's presentation. You got a little sneak peek there at the beginning, and now we will finish it up. So at this time, would you please welcome our 2017 Newalla Generalissimo, Lisa Hugo.
Thank you, Lisa. I'm privileged to come speak to you today about something that's one of my favorite things in Independence, which is Newalla. I've been on the Newalla board for 6 years now, and I was gracious last year when they told me that I was going to be the general-elect last year, which meant that I was going to be the generalissimo this year. I want to start by saying all the people I've talked to and the groups I've been talking to, I keep telling everyone Newalla wouldn't be possible without all of the volunteers, all of our sponsors, and something else that I kind of left out at the last time I talked and then I thought about it afterwards, without all the help of the city, the EMS, the fire, the police, the city office people. They all have to work a really long time and really hard. Memorial Hall, Tom, Brian, they've been here a lot. And so that all makes it happen. And it wouldn't be possible without all that help. This year we have over 63 corporate level sponsors. That's a lot of sponsors. And it's wonderful. Things happen and I'm like, was I supposed to do that? And somebody steps in, I'll take care of it for you. So we can't have all of this without all of your help and support and bringing everybody together as a community. I was downtown earlier this week because headquarters is opening this Saturday from 8 a.m. to noon. And the ladies were training and getting everybody ready. And I saw a lady walking down the street taking pictures in front of Twigs and some of the other places. And she goes, "Oh, I'm sorry," and moved out of the way. And I looked at her and I said, "Oh, you're fine." And she goes, "Well, you have the most beautiful downtown Independence." She goes, "You guys just do it up right." And she was from Springfield, Missouri, and was here for work or business. And she went on. And she goes, "I'm just going around taking pictures of all these stores." She goes, "Everybody just cleans up and takes care." And I thought that just makes me proud to say that I live in Independence, Kansas. So that says a lot for everybody downtown and all of that as well. I do want to introduce that Keith Confer is here. He's the general-elect, which means he gets to do this next year. And he gets to have all the fun. So you already saw a tease from the musical. Those musical crew have been practicing since the summer. They have been working very hard. They moved to the hall in October, and I've came up and watched a couple times. It's amazing to me every year, the talent in this area. Every time I say it, I know there's not very many children in this year's musical, and they had over 60 kids try out, and really there were only 2 main parts for children. They did try to sprinkle a few in just to have them there and stuff, but just a lot is to be said about the community theater and stuff in this town as well. Those will kick off on Friday, October 20th at 7:30, as well as Saturday, October 21st at 7:30, and then Sunday there will be a 2 p.m. matinee. Children 11 and under are half price. Now, I would like to say that I would recommend you go get your tickets early because it's a really good show. And it seems like people wait till the last and go get their tickets. Go get those tickets as soon as you can so you'll have them and ready to go. These, as you saw today, they're fabulous. It's really good. We also, Saturday, the 21st, will have the 5K, 10K, and the fun run. That's the mile fun run. The chili cook-off. And the chili cook-off, they're doing a talent show this year. Now, if you want any information on any of those type things, you can go to the Neowalla headquarters, and there's forms and things. If you can go online to the website, or you can go get the form up there, and you can turn it in up there if you would like as well. Also on that Saturday at 1 p.m., I'll be announcing the first clue to the medallion hunt. And so that will be somewhere on public property. And if you're wearing your Neowalla button, which I don't have mine on right now, it's on my jacket. If you have your button on, then you can win $500. So get that button on. And then on Sunday evening, after the 2 p.m. matinee at the Independence Theater, they will be showing a free movie, E.T. So if you would like to go to that or take your children or grandchildren to that, it's a free admission. It is limited seating, though. Aaron's got those nice reclining seats in the theater, so there's not as much seating. But and Neowalla will be handing out popcorn. So if you want to check that out. Monday, October 23rd, we'll kick off the Queen's Talent Show at 6:30 p.m. And this year we have 23 Queen contestants. We have 8 Neela Debs and 5 stage escorts. And we have our Neela Deb, one of our co-chairs here, and we have one of our Queen's co-chairs here that I can see. So they've been working really hard too. You've been working since the summer as well, right? On their stuff. So lots of that going on. This will be, and then on Tuesday, October 24th at 7 p.m., we will have the Queen's Coronation. Walk-in for that will be at 6:15 p.m. So if you want to go out front of Memorial Hall and watch the girls walk in with their dates, you can be here at 6:15. And then we will crown Queen Neela the 76th that evening. Wednesday the 25th, we'll have the food stands will be here. The carnival will start, and then we'll start some entertainment on the bandstand. So the bandstand will have, they have the orchestra for the high school at 11:30 a.m., but then the rest of them will start in the evening from 6 p.m. on. Thursday, October 26th, will be the carnival again, food stands again, and then bandstand entertainment, and that will also be the Doodah Parade. And this year's theme is "A Spoonful of Dew Helps the Daw Go Down." That is an adult-only parade that can participate in it. You must be 18 or older to participate. So start thinking of your ideas. I haven't gotten mine yet. And that will be at 6 p.m. On Friday, October 27th, will be the carnival, the food stands, the bandstand, and then the kiddie parade will be at 4 p.m. And I was telling somebody the other day, I said the kiddie parade is almost as fabulous as the grand parade. There are so many costumes and so many neat little floats that parents make for their children or their grandchildren. It's just amazing. So come out and watch that at 4 p.m. And then Saturday, October 28th, we'll have an arts and crafts show from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., the carnival. The grand parade will be at 11 a.m. The Neowalla Marching Festival will be out at Schulthess Stadium at 1:30 p.m. And then there will be bandstand entertainment that afternoon into the evening. And then at 8 p.m., it will be our professional show on the bandstand featuring Kendon Oaks, who's a local from Independence, but is in Nashville, Tennessee right now. And he and his band will be performing that evening as well. So there's lots to do. Back to Neowalla headquarters. I didn't tell you where it's located at this year. I forgot. It's located at 220 North Penn, which is the old Litwins building, and the ladies have been working in there. So the men have been in there, cleaning it up, getting it ready. The window looks fabulous. Jim Hayward, you're here. You're opening the Queen's window today as well, right? Okay, so the Queen's window is also located on the north side of that, and they're gonna unveil that today. So if you want to see all the Queen contestants and all that, you can check it out. And in the window, you're gonna see. I brought tons of fabulous new merchandise, and I knew I wasn't going to have long enough to talk about everything that's laying out there. But we brought in lots of new stuff this year. But we also didn't do a lot because there's only 3 weeks. Really, there's 15 days to opening day. That kind of makes me nervous. But I've kind of brought a few of the features of things, and I'll leave them up here so afterwards if you want to come up and check out some of the stuff you can. But there's new umbrellas this year, bags, shirts, sweatshirts. A lot of the shirts that we have that are like the orange, there's a Sport Tech orange. This one here, this comes in children and adult sizes. And then we've got a new polar, kind of a fleece pullover type shirt. We have a new rain jacket for women, a new shirt for men, just all kinds of stuff. One thing I want to point out is the bag right here. This is a little reusable bag that has the reflective on the front, and then on the back it says Neowalla. And we thought those would be great to have. So when you're downtown, if you're getting little prizes or candy, you could put it in your bag. If you got it early, you could use it for Zulaween. You could use it at the trunk or treat or Halloween. So there's all kinds of possibilities. And then it's reusable, so you could use it again. And those, I think, are like $5. Lisa, will you hold up those two little children's, the little baby things on the end here? We've got in a couple new little baby onesies. This has a little tutu on it. And then we've got a little hat. And then we've got the little, we call those a little pumpkin skull, sugar pumpkins or something. So we kind of got some new stuff like that. We do have a new women's vest that just has the witch on it. As you can see, I've worn that because I've got my pin on it. And then we have some new hats. We've got the garden flag on the end that's the same design as the home flag, but we just needed to do it in a garden flag. So anyway, we've got all kinds of stuff. We also have a new home line this year. And this is a dish towel that has a new Neowalla logo on it. And then Magnolia, we did our candle, and we also have hand soap, lotion, and then they did the little pumpkin bath bombs and a bar of soap. And we also did a little dog scarf that you could wrap around your dog. We're not encouraging you to bring your dog downtown. We're just thinking that would be cute on your dog when he's at home, waiting for you to get home from Neowalla. We also have some new bags, and then we have a couple new tumbler-type water bottles that are different sizes. The taller one is kind of like a Yeti, where it holds that ice for a long time and stuff. And then there's some logoed shirts, sweatshirts, just all kinds of stuff. So I'm just going to leave it here. so that afterwards you can all check it out. You can smell the candle. The scent is that orange chili pepper. I had to pick my favorite scent for the candle this year. So we encourage you to come check out everything for Neowalla. The ticket prices for the carnival and the ticket prices for all the events are the same as they were in the past. And we hope to see you all there. We are going to draw for a pair of 2 free tickets to this year's musical. And what you will do is you'll take the coupon into headquarters, and they will just exchange it for 2 tickets to the musical only. It's not for Queen's events, only for the musicals. So, but you can pick which day you want to go. So the ticket number, Jason, last 3. 706. Did they leave already? Oops. Okay. No. All right, we'll try again. 670. Oh, right here. All right. You will get the free tickets. I'll bring that over to you. Again, I thank you, and I appreciate everything that everybody does to help make Neowalla so successful.
Thank you. Good job. Thank you. And we appreciate all the time and effort that you put into it as well, Lisa, and your leadership for Neowalla. So I must say, I think this side of the, no offense, gentlemen, but this was the exciting the fun table. This is a serious table. So I think they're going to dance and sing. Is that right, Andy? Yeah? Okay. So our next 3 speakers will be our city manager, who's going to give us an update on a few things going on in the city of Independence, Craig Whitehead. And then when he is finished, he will be introducing our remaining 2 speakers, Greg and Andy, who are going to be talking about some other issues within the city regarding our city hall and the future of that. So would you please welcome our city manager, Craig Whitehead.
On?
Yep.
Okay, there we go. Thank you, Lisa. And thanks for the chamber moving the first Friday to the first Thursday to accommodate schedules, and we can get everybody here and have this discussion regarding the City Hall and Public Safety Building project. But before I do that, as Lisa mentioned, I got a couple of issues that I want to address. There's been some questions out in the community that I can quickly address. There was a question on... Question on North Penn Avenue and the construction that's going on there. Forward it. Did you do that or did I? I got it going now. Yeah, North Penn Avenue. The question was, people have been seeing some, I don't know if you can see that, but they look like patches on the road, and thought we were already patching a new road, but that's what's called grinding. When they pave it, oftentimes it's not as smooth as it should be, and KDOT has standards on smoothness, so they use what they call a profilograph. A machine that comes along and levels those bumps and then points out where it needs to be ground down to smooth out the pavement. And they've done that in several locations, if you notice. So it's not patching or anything. We haven't dug into the street. And then after they do it once, they actually come back and do it again to see if they need to do further grinding. So that's another patch. I just wanted to point out quickly, you see the cones there, you may have noticed they're redoing the ADA ramps that were done not too long ago. So it may seem like, wow, why are they doing that? But there's a new standard out there, it's called ProAg, that KDOT follows and anybody building new construction follows. So they had to redo the ADA ramps there, just wanted to clear that up. Then quickly on water rates. You may have heard something about that. Apologize, I plagiarized this from the Daily Reporter. I don't know who wrote the headline, but I loved it. What are we going to do? And that is a key question. So I just wanted to give a brief thing. This is why do we need a water rate increase? Well, this is an example. This is Terry's crew out doing some work just last week. So that's one reason. This is our current treatment plant, which we think we need to upgrade a little bit here, which we're working on that. So that's Terry and his truck out there inspecting the line. And then another shot of our crew out doing some work. So this is one of the reasons why we need a water rate increase to reinvest in our system. Seriously, though, one of the reasons we need a rate increase, if you can look at this graph, starts in 1992 and 93. From 93 to 2012, the water rates did not increase. It was $5.37, I think, for the base rate per month. For almost 20 years, the rates didn't increase. The bottom, the orange graph there, that's the second up to 9,000 rate as well. And it didn't change, obviously, as well. That's one of the reasons. Because when you throw inflation in the mix, which is that top line there, again, the green line there is the rates, just to keep up with general inflation, we should be up in that range up there, 976 instead of 718, because in 2012 we did start raising rates, but it hasn't kept up even with inflation. And if you looked at inflation just in that sector for water treatment plants, that would be much higher, actually, the inflation rate. And of course, the time value of money. Really, $5.37 in 1993 is not $5.37 in 2017. So you can see where our buying power, just to pay for the bills, even though our expenses have gone up, our buying power with those rates has gone down. Probably seen this in the Independence report of the paper. Again, it indicates the issue. The green line there is the revenue. Orange bar, part of the bar is operating costs, and the blue is capital expenditures. And you can see just from 2014 going through 2017, we're well underwater, no pun intended. We are underwater in terms of revenue versus expenditures. And in what they call it, this is an enterprise fund, which is like a business that has to pay for itself. The rates have to generate enough revenue to cover the costs, and it hasn't been doing that. So in 2018 is when we're proposing to raise the rates, and you've all heard that out there, 100% for water. And that is a huge jump, no question about it. But you can see even in 2018, we still don't get above our expenditures costs there. But over time, as we move forward with some smaller increases going forward, we'll get above water, if you will. How do we compare? Again, looking around neighboring communities, kind of look at how we stand in terms of water rates quickly. We're the orange bar there, we're at 1717. You can see we're the lowest right now of all the cities here measured, which is Coffeyville, Parsons, Caney, Cherryville. With the increase, that puts us up in that range, still not the highest, about equal with three others. So it puts us in the market. People often ask, how can you survive? I think Terry got a question when he told them what our rates were. How can you operate a treatment plant with that kind of revenue rate? Here's one part of the confusion is this is what would be, it's not how your water utility bill looks, but part of the confusion out there, one of the questions we wanted to address, was that when they heard the 100% increase, people took their total utility bill and doubled it. But it's really only the water portion. It's only the water portion up there that's going up that 100%. In terms of dollars, that's another $17.17 per month. So you look at your total utility bill is really going up about 33%, which is still a big increase. There's no question about it. But it's been a long time coming. We need to reinvest in our treatment plant and in our infrastructure. And this is Terry's dream. This is what we're going to get after we get the rate increase. There we go, Terry. It's all yours. So, thank you. Now I'd like to introduce two people who've been working on our City Hall and Public Safety Building project. In early 2017, the City Commission put together a committee, a task force, to look at the issue of City Hall and the Public Safety Building. And they hired Andy Pitts and Trenor HL, architecture firm, to lead that committee. And that committee worked over several months putting together recommendations. And then in June, they presented their recommendations to the City Commission. And then the City Commission is tasked, and it's part of the agreement, to hold these public forums to discuss the City Hall project. And so that's why we're here today. This will be the first of at least a couple of forums to discuss that. So I'll turn the time over to Andy here in a second. And then after Andy, Greg Varenberg from Piper Jaffray Inc. was hired by the city to look at the financing and capital costs and protecting debt. And he presented that to the City Commission just recently. I can't remember exactly what day, but just recently in September. So he is here, and he'll talk a little bit about debt and financing and provide maybe some scenarios, not recommendations. He'll clear that up. Just a starting point for a discussion on financing. So, Andy?
Thank you. Good morning. I'm not going to sing and dance, but I will try to, work my way through. I've got a lot of information I'm going to cover very quickly. So I apologize immediately because we're going to go through it pretty quick. But as Greg said, we're trying to cover information that we've presented to over about 6 months period of time to the steering committee to try to really begin to address a variety of questions as we begin to look at City Hall and the public safety facility. And so from it, we really begin to try to answer a variety of questions, and I'll kind of hit some of the highlights as we move forward. So one of the first ones we wanted to understand is, what is the condition of the existing building? What's the condition of the 1916 City Hall, the one that the staff had to move out of? And then also, what was the condition of the temporary City Hall? And some of the big things that were the pros and cons associated with it, how was that going to begin to drive some of the cost? What are the number of square footage that we can fit into all that? And so it really gave us a baseline to begin to work from. From there, we really began to look at what programs, what departments should be located either in a city hall or within the public safety building. We met with those different departments. We tried to understand how they were working to ultimately come up with the amount of square footage, the amount of space that they needed to operate in, and to really then give us a basis to move forward. So we presented all this information to the committee and kind of had a dialogue and feedback along the way. From that, we come up with how much the building needs to be, how big it needs to be, the square footage associated with it. So again, we looked at how people work. We didn't look at the number of staff. We didn't look at growth built into it. This is basically looking at what's in our current budget now, how all the different departments are working, and basically what does it take to operate the city on a daily basis. At the same time, we began to think about how can this be flexible, because things will change as we go forward. And this is not a short-term look, but this wants to be a long-term solution. So we came up with the amount of square footage. We based that upon also some of the previous studies that have been done within this city to kind of have as a benchmark moving forward. From there, we began to look at how could we solve the different problems. So we looked at a variety of different options. Some of them actually came out of our discussions with the steering committee. How could we put the program, the spaces within the existing 1916 City Hall with some sort of a new public safety building? Could we do something in the temporary City Hall, the old hospital building? Could we do something at the 1916 building and then add on to the new apparatus bay that was built adjacent to the hospital? Could we remodel the temporary city building? Could we do some sort of a renovation? Could we add on to the 1916 City Hall? What do all those things begin to look like? What is those impacts? What are the pros and cons? And then ultimately, how much do each of those concepts cost? So we worked through that, and from that really began to build consensus of what the committee believed was the right project to put forward before the City Commission. So from that, we also looked at how much the costs were. We wanted to look at this at not only how much it takes to build the building, but all the other things that go into it. So as we talk about cost and the numbers you see, there's a difference between construction cost. So that's the amount of money the city would pay a contractor to actually do the work. We built in some sort of escalation, so how much it's going to cost in the future, because we know this is not going to happen in 2017. We also built in a contingency, because we're making a lot of assumptions right now of what we're going to be getting into, especially as we remodel buildings. We also looked at what are the other costs, project costs, sometimes called soft costs, that go on top of it. Hiring professionals to be able to do the design work and the oversight. What kind of furniture needs to happen. There is hazardous materials that need to be abated. There are different things that need to go into it that we need to think about, and then also building a contingency within to those numbers. That ultimately came up with what the overall project cost of the building would be. We began to look at what other projects within the city needed to be funded besides just the city hall and the public safety. So as Greg mentioned, we talked about enterprise funds, things that hopefully self-support them. We looked at things that had matching funds, and then we looked at things that were within the general budget that needed to be paid for that. We didn't make any determination on what it was, but we began to make some recommendations to the city on how that should move forward. We also talked about how the project could be funded. We had bond counsel come in to talk about it. We had city staff that were in there to talk about it. How are the different methods within the city that we can raise funds to pay for a significant project? Whether it was a general purpose citywide sales tax, we talked about the existing education sales tax that are on the books, and then also the ADA infrastructure sales tax. So we had that discussion along the way. I'm going to let now Greg kind of get into the actual dollars and on the funding side and kind of work through those discussions.
Thank you, Andy. Good morning, everyone. Greg Varenberg with Piper Jaffray. And Lisa, I don't know how you could start off by saying we're the serious side. I was hoping you would call us the exciting side of the discussion. So, but I've often thought I should have been an architect, because they get to tell you about all of the exciting improvements and benefits you see. And then when it comes time to talk about the painful side, the cost, how do we pay for that, I always get handed the microphone. But again, I'm Greg Varenberg. I'm with Piper Jaffray. I'm in our public finance department, and I work with a lot of cities, counties, and school districts throughout Kansas on financing their improvements. And I was fortunate enough to work with the school district on the recent school bond election and help the district through that process. And so when the city contacted me and said, we're looking at these improvements, we've received this study from Andy and his group, and we want you to help us start evaluating some of the options that we might consider for how we would pay for this. And so, as Craig had mentioned, we started the analysis, and please don't take the analysis here this morning as a recommendation. We haven't developed a plan of finance, but we're really starting with probably the two most popular sources of repayment for a City Hall project. And when we work with the cities throughout Kansas, oftentimes they will use property tax or sales tax to repay a City Hall or a public building project. And so when we first start developing an analysis, we look at a lot of the assumptions that go into developing that plan of finance, one of which is the interest rate environment. No surprise to all of you, we're in a very low interest rate environment, so it's a favorable time to consider financing a project if you have a project to complete. We also then, as we start looking at, say, a property tax scenario, we look at your assessed valuation trend in the community. What has the tax base done over recent years? And one of the things you'll notice here is it's been fairly flat. You've had a few years up, a few years down in terms of assessed valuation. You look at the growth rate in the last 3 years, about 0.83%. So fairly stable, fairly flat growth in your assessed valuation here in the community. And then we also look at the mill levy history. Where has the tax rate been, and in particular the bond and interest fund? Where has the mill levy or tax rate for the repayment of outstanding bonds been? And what would the impact be of issuing new bonds repaid from a property tax on that overall tax rate of the city? So the first scenario we developed, and I apologize, this was a handout that we gave to the City Commission. I know it's impossible to read on the overhead. But this scenario shows a $16 million project It assumes it would be initially financed with temporary notes and then rolled into a permanent bond issue. And the first payments on the bond issue would begin in the year 2022. And the reason we're showing that approach is that it matches up well with the sales tax scenario I'll show you here in just a second. But we assumed a 20-year repayment on the bond issue. We assumed a 3.65% interest rate on the bonds. And again, that's a 20-year financing. And when we looked at the tax base of the city, made some assumptions on growth in that assessed valuation, looked at the interest rates and the cost, the end impact was a mill levy of 20.25 mills to repay that $16 million project. And when we look at the median value home in the county, we don't have the data for the city, but in the county, median value home $70,600, and for a median value home, the impact of that 20.25 mill levy increase would be $164.40 per year, or $13.70 per month. So again, that's the property tax scenario. That's just one of the options that cities use to repay building projects in Kansas. We then shifted our focus of our analysis over to a sales tax scenario. And in Kansas, you have the ability to, and Andy touched on this, you have the ability to levy a sales tax. Currently, you have a 1 cent general sales tax, a 1 cent educational sales tax, which half of that goes off of expires or terminates in 2031, with the other remaining half in 2032. And then you have a 1 cent ADA and street and capital improvement building project and mill levy reduction sales tax that I believe expires in 2022. So you currently have a 3% sales tax rate. 1% of that is a general sales tax, and then you have 2 special purpose sales taxes. So the scenario we used in that financing analysis for those $16 million building projects to be repaid from sales tax was looking at that sales tax that expires in 2022 and making the assumption that you would go back to voters and ask for permission to continue or extend that sales tax. Beginning after it expires in 2022, it would roll right into that new sales tax. And then we developed a financing plan around the renewal of that sales tax and being able to use those sales tax dollars for the repayment of a financing. So one of the key things we look at, and again, apologize for yet another spreadsheet that's difficult to read, but one of the things that we look at is the sales tax growth rate in the city. And you've had a couple of changes in the actual sales tax rate. So what we did is we took that and looked at what a 1 cent sales tax has done over the years in the city. And it's interesting, your sales tax has really had some high years and low years. And you've had on the increase side an increase of 7.76%, and you had 1 year where it actually declined 10.16%. Sometimes we see that in Kansas where it's just a timing of when you get the revenues from the state, but also that's probably impacted by sales in the community, obviously, that are showing either those increases or reduction. But what we found is that your 10-year average is fairly flat. The 5-year average is about a 1% growth rate. And in our analysis for the sales tax scenario for the repayment of that $16 million bond issue, we actually are showing a 0% growth rate in the sales tax. And that provides adequate funds to repay that $16 million financing, but then also provides some dollars that can be used for other purposes. And this is really the slide that I think helps summarize that sales tax approach that I'm describing. Right now in the bottom left corner, the purple color where it says 2012, 13, and 15, part of that existing sales tax is being used for mill levy management or property tax reduction. In other words, using sales tax dollars to pay off some of the outstanding bonds of the city, the 2012, 13, and 15 bond issues, and rather than levy property tax to repay those bonds, the city is using sales tax. So that's helping keep the mill levy lower in the community than if you had been using property tax to repay those bonds. And those bonds were issued for capital improvement projects of the city, so it's helping pay for some of the infrastructure improvements that you've had. In the top right portion of that graph, you see Series 2021. That's the $16 million of building projects that were described in the study that Andy had referenced. And we're showing that we're setting up the repayment schedule for those Series 2021 bonds so that the payments begin as you're starting to wind down the payments on those three outstanding issues, 2012, 13, and 15. And what we're trying to accomplish in that plan of finance is a scenario where we keep the red portion of that graph as uniform as we can throughout the life of that sales tax, because the red portion of that graph represents the excess sales tax dollars that would be available to the city, not being used for repayment of a bond issue. And those excess sales tax dollars can be used for any other purpose that would be authorized in that sales tax. It could be other capital improvements of the city, could be property tax reduction, could be a continuation of some of the existing purposes that you have authorized under the outstanding sales tax, such as streets or sidewalks or any of those type of improvements. But what we have shown in that scenario is that the renewal of that 1 cent sales tax, which would continue the existing 3% sales tax rate from 2022 and thereafter, provides enough funds to continue paying off those three outstanding bonds, provides enough funds to pay that $16 million financing paid for from sales tax, and then about 30 to 40% of your annual sales tax collections are available to be used for those other improvements in the community. So that, again, we looked at the property tax scenario, which would result in a mill levy increase. We looked at the sales tax scenario, which would result in a sales tax extension or renewal of that 1 cent that when it drops off, you would authorize that for the building projects. So again, our role in this process was to help start that dialogue in the community as to, if you move forward with some of the building improvements that were identified by Trainer, how would you start to pay for those? Would it be entirely property tax? Would it be entirely sales tax? Would it be a combination of those two, where it's part property tax, part sales tax? And or do you start pulling in some other source of revenue for the city? And that's really the purpose today, is to start to unveil some of our initial calculations so that the city can start to receive feedback. And then from there, we'll help the city further identify financing options or provide additional scenarios for the community to consider. So that summarizes our role in the process. And
well, let me wrap up and then we'll move into some questions. So what we were tasked with was really to begin to provide the steering committee a variety of information, and then ultimately make recommendations back to the commission on what direction the steering committee believed the city should begin to look at. Out of that, we came up with 9 different recommendations and discussion points to provide to the city. So our task was to work with the 12 members of the committee and ultimately come up with a consensus amongst the 12 of them of what should be the moving forward on this project. So these things are what kind of came out of the entire process. And so the first one was that a long-term solution that addresses both today's and the future needs of the City of Independence is required for the City Hall and Public Safety Building. Doing nothing should not be in consideration. The project should utilize the 1916 City Hall through a complete renovation, therefore providing a modern office building that is safe and secure and energy efficient, while maintaining the historic characteristics and defining features of the building. The Public Safety Building will house the police department, the fire EMS, and should be located on a portion of the public parking lot north of the 1916 City Hall building. The temporary City Hall facility should be sold, providing the city with revenue to fund the renovation while supporting the overall economic development needs of the community. The existing temporary apparatus bay should be reused to meet another city department's requirements or sold to another entity. project budget should not exceed $16 million, and again, I said that's project budget, so that's both construction and the soft project cost. The budget should fund the construction and other costs associated with the project and should explore efficiencies or program reductions that could result in cost savings while limiting the impact on the operation. The City Commission should conduct a debt study to understand its current debt structure, and that's basically what Greg and his firm has provided and reported back today. And then ultimately, the City Commission should proceed with public town hall meetings to discuss the outcomes of the steering committee, the financing options, and the future City Hall project, which is what we are beginning here this morning. One thing that I know has come up, and I've been asked to kind of respond a little bit on, is I know Coffeyville is working on a renovation of their existing City Hall and then also a new public safety building. And a lot of the questions is how are we comparing and how are the dollars so different between what they are doing at that facility and what we are talking about here today. And so there's a couple things I wanted to make sure that we're looking at from an apples to apples perspective and talking about. The information that I was provided and what we're reporting on today is I'm basing estimates of cost on concepts and ideas, programs that we've come up with. There's no drawings or anything done yet. We've done a little bit of research of your existing buildings. And so we're looking at square foot cost versus an actual construction document process that the city of Coffeyville is currently going through. Again, I'm looking at square foot cost of what we see typically and have done within the Midwest area and how we see construction costs moving forward into the future. We've built in contingency because in this portion of the process, we have a lot of unknowns in front of us. We haven't discussed what this construction delivery method could be. One of the projects in Coffeyville is being delivered by a design-build method. That's a different delivery than if you actually design, bid, and build, and so there's different discussions that it could occur that potentially could reduce the overall cost of the project. And again, I want to make sure that we're looking at the construction cost versus the project cost in this discussion. And so as we begin to look at the public safety building and what the kind of some apples to apples comparison, so we're looking at about a 27,000 square foot building at Coffeyville versus about a 29,000 square foot building in Independence. The significant difference there is the apparatus bay, which is where we store all of the vehicles. The space that we've indicated for the City of Independence is much larger than what was programmed within the Coffeyville facility. Coffeyville, again, is looking at a design-build process where they're hiring actually a contractor that brings on an architect through that process. There are sometimes potentials for cost savings in that, and that could be something that's considered for this project moving forward. They actually have a construction estimate. They're working with a team that is providing that. The contractor is actually providing those processes. Again, we're looking at very basic, rough numbers as we begin to figure out the cost of this facility. Theirs is about a $5.5 million, which roughly comes up to about $204 a square foot. We have built in about $1 million for site utilities, relocating dispatch, generator, underground things we don't know about yet that could be associated with that parking lot. So if we took some of that stuff out, we'd be about a $7.4 million. We'd take it down to about 6.4. So it puts us about a $204 a square foot cost comparison also. So if you look at it as a square foot basis, it's a very similar type cost project for the public safety building. If we look at the City Hall building, from my understanding of what they're proposing at Coffeyville, it's basically a renovation of the basement level, a partial basement level, and then also the majority of the first floor, and then a very limited scope on the upper third floor. It's about 19,000 square feet is what's being looked at for the renovation. There's a limited work on the exterior. It looks like it's mostly windows, and there's a much different scope of work that we're looking at the 1916 City Hall. It's about $2.6 million. The staff architect on the city staff is actually doing those documents, and so there's some costs associated, savings associated with that, which puts it about $137 a square foot for that renovation. If we look at what we've proposed for the City of Independence, it's about a 22,000 square foot building, about $5.6 million in construction. About $1.2 million of that is in waterproofing of the exterior for the basement, re-tuck pointing and doing masonry work on the exterior of the building, new windows throughout the facility, new roof, a lot of an exterior improvement, so about $1.2 million for that. Another just shy of $1 million in site, utilities, generator improvements associated with that facility. So if you look at the total number, it's about $260 a square foot. If you back out some of those extras to try to look at it from apples to apples, we're roughly 180 to 160 per square foot. We're also looking at using historic tax credits, making sure that we fall within the guidelines of the State Historic Preservation Office. So that brings a little bit more cost in the upfront, but it also allows us to have some cost savings on the back end, which are not factored into the numbers that we've shown here today. So I wanted to make sure I kind of had that out there, so if it could help me address any questions on that. So do you want to go ahead and open up questions? Okay. So with that, we'll open up to any questions anybody has and try to address those along the way. So you want to start? Or?
Well, on your sales tax, it seems like a lot of places limit the max. You're maintaining your 3 cents. Is there a max in Kansas?
Yes, Kansas allows for a 1 cent general plus 2 additional 1 cent special purpose, so that the maximum is 3%. That's where you're at currently, and that is the limitation for all cities in Kansas.
Andy, on the next question, will you reiterate the questions so you get it on TV?
I'm sorry, and the question was, is there a limitation on the sales tax? What is the maximum rate? And again, that's the 3% limitation. Yes, sir.
In the bigger scheme of things, we also have a $3 million water project that we've heard about. How does this project put the city towards total debt that it can take out for debt ceilings and its ability to take on future projects in the next 25 years?
Yes, the question was related to the debt limit that applies to cities in Kansas, and will a water project or the proposed building projects hinder your ability to make future improvements? And the answer is no. It won't have a negative impact from a debt limit perspective. And there's a couple of ways that our role as a financial advisor working with the city, we look at it under the Kansas statutes, but then we also look at some of the debt ratios and will bond investors buy your bonds if you need to finance future improvements. And one thing that is interesting in Kansas is there is a debt limit, and anytime we're working with a city or a county on a project, we look at the nature of the improvement to be financed. Then we look at the Kansas statutes and find out which statutory authority we'll be using that authorizes the issuance of the bonds. Many projects are excluded from the debt limit calculation. A water project is a perfect example. It does not count towards the debt limit for cities. And then also there are a number of other statutory exemptions for issuing debt, and I know that the city has adopted a charter ordinance where building projects don't take away from your ability to finance future projects or count against that debt limit. So you actually have a very high degree of flexibility to finance future improvements, and if some of those projects count against the debt limit, you'll have plenty of capacity, because what we're talking about today in terms of building projects or water projects won't take away that capacity. From the other perspective, we also look at, even if you have the ability to borrow for projects, do you get to a point where your debt ratios are high to the point where it impacts your bond rating, or bond investors might be reluctant to invest in the city's bonds? And I would say you're not close to hitting any of those levels where we would consider you a high debt ratio city. And if anything, you have a fairly small amount of debt relative to the assessed valuation of the city or on a per-person basis. And I think that's reflected in the favorable bond rating that the city has. The rating agencies, when they assign a rating to a city, they'll look at the debt burden of the city and the ability of the city to repay those bonds. So I think you've got plenty of capacity from both a statutory debt perspective and then also just from your debt ratio and being able to borrow at favorable interest rates. So hopefully that helped answer your question.
Is there a ballpark figure for historical credits to be gained financially?
Yes. It's a little hard to peg exactly what all that is. So we have to look at what the qualifying expenditures are. Typically, that's about 75 to 80% of the total construction dollars. Then you basically, from that, there is the ability to sell that on an open market, because you can't be able to be for state income tax, be able to deduction. It's roughly about 80 to 90 cents, but it's actually been selling a little bit higher on the dollar. And so you take the 25% that you can get from the credit times that and be able to come up with that factor. If I remember right, I believe we were about $750,000 potentially would be available on this project as a historic tax credit. And again, those have not been factored into the cost, and so there are potentials from, as we mentioned, from the sale of the temporary city hall to other factors that could potentially lower that overall debt. Sometimes those historic tax credits, you're going to receive that after the fact because you have to have the project certified to be able to receive that. But there have been cases where a lot of times it's banks that are buying these credits, will buy them ahead of the time. And so you actually can reap that, and so you're not having to spend the debt initially.
Do you have another question?
One other question. It's probably actually for Craig more than you two, but how fast will you proceed with the election coming up? Because I have no doubt this will be something people talk about with the voting that's going to take place in a month from now.
If I heard you right, you're asking how does this proceed before the election?
What's the timeline for anything happening?
Yeah, well, as we mentioned, part of the plan was to hold forums like this for the community to come and give feedback to us and Andy and Greg about the project. And this is the first of those, so we'll probably have two more, at least one more before the election. But we haven't scheduled that date yet, but we'll get that out as soon as possible.
Any other questions? Okay. Well, we always use our remaining 3 or 4 minutes for some shout-outs. So does anyone want to come forward, use the handheld mic, and do a little shout-out?
I have one.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, not really a shout-out. I just wanted
Come on,
to
Tabitha.
forgot to remind you, on the table there's a copy of some of the slides and graphs and so forth. If you want more information, there are not enough copies. These are on our website as well. The whole presentation's on the website, so you can get the information there as well. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, I just wanted to give a little shout out here. These are our banners. They're going to be hanging up downtown during Veterans Day, 4th of July, and Memorial Day. And those are still available till Friday morning. You can come by the Main Street office, or you can call me and I'll email you the form to do this. This is the actual banner that will be hanging up. And we need the picture itself is best, because we're going to take them and scan them because they have to be a really high resolution because they're old and we want them not to look grainy. And so this is our project on that. And then I also wanted to give a little shout out. I know Lisa already did about tonight. So much exciting stuff going on with Apricot Lane's grand opening. Cantrell's is celebrating 10 years. Newton's is also celebrating a 5-year anniversary, and Twig's Floral is celebrating a 30-year anniversary in downtown Independence. So that is a lot to be celebrating tonight. Also, our retailers have put in a lot of work. We asked them with these crazy ideas, and they're staying open late. They're coming up with treats. They're making treats, buying treats for us. So we encourage you to go out and enjoy those. And also, we're giving away 2 $50 Main Street gift certificates that you can sign up for at Calcor Clothing is one of them, and from 5 to 8. And then Hager's Market will be taking sign-ups for the other one from 5 to 7. So we encourage you to go to those 2 places, and all of our places actually, because check our Facebook pages. A lot of them, we're advertising 5 to 7, but most of our retailers are staying open until 8 o'clock. So enjoy that.
What's the cost of the banner?
Oh, they are $150, and that just covers the banner, and there is no profit on that whatsoever. We would try to make them as affordable as we can. So, anything else?
I'm Lacey Bohr with Southeast Kansas Works. I would like to invite everyone to our Coffee and Conversation event at our office next Thursday, October the 12th, from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. We're going to have coffee and muffins, and we'd like to take this opportunity to network with businesses across Southeast Kansas. And we are going to talk a little bit about our services we provide to businesses, some new opportunities we have available through our office, as well as hopefully hear from some businesses about some things that we can do to improve our services for employers. So come out. We would appreciate RSVPs, but it's not required. So if you could RSVP to me at 620-332-5904, extension 109. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm Susie Kleinbeck from the First Presbyterian Church, and I want to tell you that the 10th annual free seasonal flu shot drive-through event will occur on November the 4th. It's immediately after Neowalla. And we have over 250 seasonal flu shots, and they're open to anyone who would like to come. You can come either in your car and hang your arm out the window, or you can ride your bike. And we can hit your deltoid. That's the muscle. Either way, we're good. We even do 10 feet.
Oh.
Going to be a Bark for Life program Saturday at the dog park from 1 to 3, and for Walk for Life, for cancer for dogs. To do a research on that, it would be $10 per dog per person to come, and they're going to have all kinds of things for the dogs that day. That's this Saturday.
Thank you, Jean. Anybody else? Enjoy. So with that, I want to say thank you again to CRMC, everyone who came from your facility to join us, all your doctors, welcome to Independence, and thank you for sponsoring our great breakfast from Annie Mae's. We appreciate that. And don't forget, Neewalla headquarters opens on Saturday, so get all of your Neewalla swag and be ready for all of the festivities that are going to hit our community in the next few weeks. So with that, you have to go to work tomorrow, but after that, have a great weekend. Thank you.